biology first. I know, it's better at the beginning.
My name is Wayne Fagan, and I'm chair of D. Howard International Education Foundation, and I will be moderating this discussion today. I have the great pleasure of having as a special guest today Professor Po-Shen Loh, who is a tenured professor of mathematics at Carnegie Mellon University and is the inventor of Live, Live, and all of the information on Professor Po was in the announcement of this podcast, and it will also be posted on the recorded podcast on our website. I was introduced to Professor Po by mutual friends at MIT. It was one of the great coincidences of my life. It has been a wonderful experience, and I instantly became a huge fan. So in layman's terms, I'll probably get this wrong, but Professor Po, as a professor of mathematics, had a great interest in teaching math in a way that was understandable and would advance the educational opportunities for the students. It's rather unique, which I will let him explain. I'll introduce Professor Po. We'll have a dialogue. Professor Po, first, share with us whatever you'd like to share as far as what you do, what your background is, how you got interested in this new life's venture that you are on, what it is that makes it unique. If you also introduce your colleagues who have joined us on the call, I would appreciate it. So over to you, Professor Po.
Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Po-Shen Loh. I'm really, really happy to work together with Wayne and with anybody who's interested in bringing lots of advanced science and technology all over the country. I actually was born in the US and grew up in Wisconsin. And so that's why I have a particular fascination for the middle of the country. I also am very happy that I have colleagues because there's no way that you can do anything all on your own. I think that's why, Wayne, you also collaborate with people. I'm happy to introduce, we have Zhang here, Zhang Lao. She lives in New York, not quite rural. She lives in Queens, New York. But that's because we work with lots of different people. And Zhang was actually, I got to know Zhang long, long ago when she was a student at Carnegie Mellon University. And I'm very happy to be able to work with her together now. She happens to run the nuts and bolts of our scholarship program, which is actually what we do for outreach to kids around the United States who have not previously had huge access to advanced STEM. Also, we have Kayla here. Kayla is from Pennsylvania. And so we are doing outreach not only in inner cities, but actually the latest, greatest new thing is out to all of rural. Kayla is actually helping to head up the outreach on that. And well, helps that she also happened to grow up in Western Pennsylvania, which is not exactly rural, but maybe more rural than New York City. I mean, there's more rural stuff around here than New York City. So she'll also be sharing about a lot of what we do as well. And I'm actually just happy that both of them are here because otherwise this collaboration couldn't happen. Wayne knows that unfortunately my response rate is very, very low. I'm usually traveling around thanks to jets. So it's a very big pleasure to work together with you guys who did jet engines. Or you guys did the thrust reversers, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of important on landing, not to mention other things. But yeah, so I'm often out and about, and so I actually rely on having a team here, which is working together. Maybe to share a little bit about what we do. I don't know, Kayla, do you want to jump on and share a little bit about how this whole thing works? Because it'll be more interesting if it's not only me talking the whole time. So.
Yeah. So we at Live teach mathematics, but it's not just math. Math is really kind of like the vehicle that helps us be able to teach kids how to have really important critical thinking and problem solving skills. So it's less about getting the right answer and more about how to get to that answer and the steps that you need to get there, the confidence to be able to answer questions, to solve problems on your own. And that can really help these students be able to succeed later in life. So I think like one of the biggest things that we try to change is the fear of making mistakes, and that making mistakes like means that you're not good at something, which isn't true. It's important to make mistakes because that's how you can learn and grow in education, and therefore they will become more confident later in life. Um, I think also like one of the reasons that we choose math, I think is also something that's important. It's like it's so much bigger than that. It's just like a universal language. It's something that spans globally, so we can increase our outreach farther than just America. We can go like across globally. We can connect with so many different people through math. And math really is all about problem solving and introducing challenges. Like it requires collaborating and creativity and thoughtfulness and all of these like important qualities of a really strong learner. So yeah, that's if Jung, you want to say anything else?
Yeah, Kayla, I love what you shared. So, three of our main goals for all of our live math scholars, as Kayla mentioned, expanding on that, is we want them to creatively solve problems, to confidently communicate, and to create joy while helping others. And this is truly, really, math is such a great vehicle for our scholars to learn and practice all of these things. And it's also because we have all of our live math scholars get coached by an incredible group of high school math stars who are not only ranked nationally in their math skills, but also are selected based on their kindness. And we also give them improv comedy classes so that they make math just as fun as watching any social media live stream as well. So we love our community. We love our live math scholars. We love our instructors. We love all the different people that make this magical place possible. And I'm so proud whenever we see feedback from our live math scholars, we often see that students say like, this is my safe space. So we take great pride in creating these opportunities of growth, safety, joy, and community for everyone.
Yeah, I'm actually happy to show you a little bit about what this actually looks like. So far you got the vision of what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to make a lot of people who love thinking and also love people. My attraction to doing this in rural America is I think that there's a lot of people who love people, and there's actually a lot of people who love thinking. But then one of the problems as I was running around, one of the problems I saw was that I'd go into classrooms and I'd see kids who were actually really curious and wonderful people. But if they wanted to learn much more math and science, there wasn't something local. If you live in a bigger city, this is easy. You can just go to the local, some advanced math enrichment center. But we managed to fix something. We managed to make this all work online. And of course, one of the challenges with online is that a lot of online education is actually quite boring. But I want to show you what we did. Because as was just mentioned, we managed to bring in professional actors to coach people who know math on how to be really interesting on camera. So I'm just going to play a montage. I'll play a bunch of 2-second clips, one after another, which are showing lots of pairs of high schoolers as they live stream to teach middle school kids. Oh, importantly, our program faces kids who are around middle school. We start from around middle school, and we work with them for about 3 years with the hope that they become really, really good at thinking, actually really good at teaching other people too. And importantly, it's not boring. So I'll show you what this looks like. Normally, people learn from 2 high schoolers teaching together for an entire hour, but this is just giving you a feel for it. So here are lots of 2-second clips.
Which means we're not playing videos.
Same thing as just adding 1 to n and then multiplying by 3.
The absolute differences will change.
Like, boom, rotate.
Equality between those two facts.
We do count as 2 separate things in the end.
Like, at least understand. We approve that.
Hi, everyone.
And then we look, we say, okay.
You will get triple stars for that.
A really special thing about your city.
You use the exact same logic from over here.
Wait a second.
Or 1001. You can check it and let us know.
And I liked seeing that you guys were using your critical thinking.
What you just saw doesn't really look like a math class. In fact, it looks like what kids like to watch anyway on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. We learned from what kids watch anyway. And then we brought professional actors to coach high schoolers on how to be like this. Actually, technically, the way it works is that while each of our high schoolers is teaching, they each have the equipment we send them, which has two screens. One screen is the video call, which is teaching class. And inside that classroom, there's a professional actor listening and watching everything with the actor's camera off and microphone off so they don't distract the class. On the second screen, the high schoolers have a second video call happening at the same time with the actor. On that one, the actor's camera is on and microphone's on. So then, from the point of view of the high schooler, while they talk about math, which is something they find easy anyway, we pick the ones who like people, like thinking, and are quite good at middle school math. Then actually they put their attention on the second screen and they're watching effectively their personal cheerleader, helping giving them all kinds of tips on, that was good, that engaged people. This makes the instructors really interesting. And this also helps to solve a supply problem. You see, first of all, we solved the technical problem of how do you make an online class captivating. We realized that kids are captivated to YouTube anyway. So we just need to make it match that same style. But the second thing is we were able to get enough people to teach because there's a new trade in the world. If you happen to be really good at math as a high schooler, and if you happen to really like people, well, then here you go. You can teach math for an hour in exchange for getting a professional actor to coach you on how to get a date. Now, that's a good trade.
Professor Po, how did you come up with this idea? What made you, just share with us how you came up with it. I worked for a gentleman there by the name of D. Howard. There was a D. Howard. And D had about 250 aviation inventions and over 40 patents in his name. At one point in the mid-'80s, he started the company by himself with nothing, and in 1968, we're 64. Then, I met him in 1970. He had 75 employees. By the middle of 1988, we had over 1,500 employees and over 350 people in engineering, from PhDs to masters to undergraduate degrees or no degrees. Anyhow, he would come by my office at the company frustrated, and after being in engineering, he said that he had showed him how to do something. And he said, now, why couldn't they think of that? And I said, well, because they're not D. Howard. That's why. So there are not a lot of Professor Poes out there. How did you come up with that, Professor Poe?
Okay, I guess I'll take this. The answer is I'm not actually that smart. I just choose a problem and work on it for 15 years. So I have a friend who quite successful entrepreneur, and what he said is, if you just do things longer than everyone else, after a while you're the best person at it. So let me say more about this. So I actually think it's really valuable if you choose a direct. I'm saying in general, if people choose a general field or industry or something that they just love. For me, what I love is people. I love making people better. And so I've always felt that education is something that can make people better. So I've always had that fascination. I did like teaching. I started out, actually, my beginning of the whole thing was as a normal educator in a classroom. That's how I got to meet John. I would show up in class. I'd try to teach a class. I'd try to get a high rate in my professors.com review or something like that. Right? I actually thought it was important to figure out how to connect with people through teaching. Then later on, around the time that Khan Academy became big, there's this website, Khan Academy, a lot of people use. Yeah, around the time that became big, I started thinking, is there anything I can do that could try to blend computer stuff and education? Because around that time, there was also other things getting big. They were called edX, Coursera, Udemy. There were all these massive open online courses all emerging. I happened to be at that time a professor at Carnegie Mellon, where we're quite good at computer stuff there. So I started thinking, is there anything I can do over there? That can't be that hard, can it? Let me try. Fortunately, I thought it would be very easy. I'm still not done. So I thought, hey, maybe we can figure something out. Because the first things that I built were lousy. So the first thing I ever made on that side was, hey, let's make a website. Let's have everyone who wants to contribute lessons, and we'll let people vote on the best lessons. And surely that would be great. The problem is that, number one, most people don't write lessons. Number two, most of the people who are looking around don't find boring lessons to be something they want to watch or want to read. Okay, so then there were many, many, many rounds of improvement. At some point, somebody gave me the very important tip. You're not that smart. You can't just think of everything yourself. You should go talk to real people and find out what they actually want. So then I started to get out of my own head. Right. So when I started out, I was a professor at the university. I did math. In math, we like to think we got everything from first principles, like proving stuff. But then I started going and talking to normal people. Around that time, I was lucky enough that a philanthropic foundation, the Overdeck Family Foundation, funded me to work with a PR firm to try to get more people interested in math. At that time, I was the national coach of the math team for the United States. So I talked to the PR firm. And the first thing the PR firm told me was, you are going to be the representative of math? We have a problem. You don't know how to talk to normal people. You only know how to talk to math people. You got to take acting classes. Okay, so then I started taking improv comedy classes, and this was when I was probably 35 or so. That changed my life. After taking those classes, I started to be comfortable talking to just about everyone. And then the pandemic happened. During the pandemic, I did some live streaming of math. And then another key thing that happened was my oldest daughter today is 20. But back when she was in high school, I saw that she was pretty good at math, but I could tell that what would make a big difference in her life would be to pick up the confidence and the communication skills. So now I had a real problem. Dad has a problem. Dad has a teenage daughter. Dad wants teenage daughter to learn great acting skills. Dad has taken acting classes. They're good. You know what happens when sometimes dad tells teenage daughter, hey, you should go do, oh boy. Okay. So I didn't try the full attack because that's not effective, right? So instead I said, I have an idea. Generally speaking, if I see a problem, I think maybe other people have that problem too. Actually, have you realized there's all these people in the entire country who are good at science, technology, engineering, and math, and what they really need is communication skills? Oh, this is a larger scale problem. And around that time, because I was taking acting classes, I learned from the acting class teacher that he told us once, he was joking, not joking, he was telling the truth. He said, we don't really want to teach you these classes, but we got to teach the classes to make enough money to keep the theater open. Aha! So there's people in the performing arts industry who are looking for part-time paid jobs. That's how I put two and two together. So then we said, all right, how about we use the fact that Carnegie Mellon, which is where I work, is one of the top acting schools in the country. Let's go to the acting people and let's find out, are they really looking for part-time jobs? The answer was yes. Oh, let's go out to all these math people in high school. Are they looking to pick up communication skills? Would they like to learn how to get a date? The answer was yes. And then are there all these middle school kids who are going through school not having the chance to really think? Kayla attributed to that when she started, of how we want to teach people how to think on their own, come up with their own ideas. A lot of school, unfortunately, teaches kids how to do what the teacher showed them to do. So I said, well, if we brought all these kids who know tons of math, they can live stream. The live streaming can make it so that the kids who are learning math can say what they want to learn. Say the method they want to use to solve the problem. And it's okay. There's no doing it the teacher's way. It's doing it your way. I'm not criticizing teachers. The teachers are subject to existing curricula. That's one of the problems. So then I said, we could try to make this thing really big. Let's see. So we started it. Fortunately, some of the very first high schoolers we had were also very kind people. In fact, one of our very first high schoolers lived in Austin, Texas. So not very far from where you are. At the time, he wasn't in high school. He was an 8th grader. This is a program for high schoolers. Actually, the first person he co-taught with was a 12th grader in high school. That pair was very interesting, 8th grader and 12th grader. But fortunately, we taught them improv comedy. So they were okay, right? And it turns out that these initial group of people we had, they also really cared about people. And those kids, these high school kids and that 8th grader, gave so much feedback that caused our whole experience to look like what it looks like today. I did not know that there was such a thing as these like colorful lights and podcast style. I'm sorry. I'm this kind of guy. This is not my office, but this is the kind of place I'm used to being in. All right. This is obviously not what the kids these days somehow love watching. And so another key to our success was we just trust young people. And I guess one reason we trust them is because we go through a lot of effort to find young people who really like people and also really like thinking.
Tell us how the course works as far as, how long is it for? Well, let me just share with you one thing that resonated with me. I may have shared this story with you before. Well, there's a campus of Texas A&M University, which the principal location for A&M is College Station, Texas. But they have campuses in different places, one of which is in San Antonio. And it started out as a 2-year college in San Antonio, and then it grew to a 4-year college, and they got a person, a professor, to head up the engineering and science program at Texas A&M San Antonio. And he reached out to me, this professor, and asked me, because we have a lot of aviation and cybersecurity and other things in San Antonio. He asked me if I would help him organize a luncheon, brown bag luncheon, where he could talk to representatives of the various aerospace companies in San Antonio to find out what their needs were. So we did that. And there were between 12 and 15 corporate executives there. And what was amazing to me was, to a person, these representatives of the companies didn't talk about technical skills that were lacking, what they called soft skills. That these people didn't, that the people they were interviewing, the new graduates that they were interviewing, didn't have communication skills. They didn't know how to present a report. That they knew how to prepare a report. They didn't know how to present a report. They didn't necessarily show up at work every day. They didn't show up on time. And that's what they were interested in. He said, you provide us with the students, the recent graduates, with those skills, and we'll teach them the technical stuff. That was several years ago. And that sort of resonates with what you're saying. But along the line in your course, they also get better at math. So how does that happen?
Oh, I'm happy to add on to that as well. Well, two things to note. First is I'm a proud former student of Professor Loh. So I got my math degree from Carnegie Mellon, and I can totally agree that it's very hard for people who study math to carry a conversation. So I like fully see the vision and the impact that our program is making to our high school students, as well as our middle school students, who get to see communication skills and warmth through a near peer, just someone a few years older than them. So it was really cool to be part of this. And secondly, you also mentioned the course and the journey that some of our scholars go through. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that as well. So we are also so proud to partner with so many fantastic schools all over the country. And we also invite, I'm sure there's someone listening here who is a potential Life Math Scholarship school partner as well. So we have schools that believe our students can do more. They have the appetite, they have the curiosity and determination and motivation. We just don't know where to send them. And most of the students that we work with are eligible for free and reduced lunch. So they wouldn't be, they have some financial barriers or geographical barriers to typical enrichment courses. So that's where we come in, and we work with schools all across the country. And we have students that get nominated by their schools. So imagine you're a 12-year-old in school and you get a letter sent home to you and your family saying that we see your curiosity, your motivation, and we want to give you the opportunity to go far beyond what you've ever imagined. We have these amazing group of high school students who want to help, who want to inspire you. And here's how you can be a part of our program. Even though the program would typically cost $2,000 a year, through your school, you've earned a full tuition scholarship to this program. And then they get to get excited, be acknowledged, be seen for their curiosity and determination at a very critical age of being a sixth grader. And then they get to apply. And we have 3 semesters in 1 year. They have the fall, the spring, and summer cohort. And our goal is they take 3 semesters for 3 years. So they go in maybe being unsure about math. Most of the people that get nominated are like, I don't really like math. But then once they take the classes, I didn't know how fun math could be. And we get to share with them, there's so many more doors that are now open because you can creatively problem solve and think in that way. So that's what a typical journey looks like. And then through our program, we also work with different organizations to make sure that they have other like high school summer opportunities. And we want them to get into any prestigious high school opportunity near them as well. So we're also, in case there's any high school programs listening to, we want to partner with you to send our alumni to you as well.
This podcast is about live and about y'all, but I just want to throw in a little comment because we may have an offline discussion afterwards. Growing out of one of our podcasts a couple of months ago was something that we at D. Howard International just announced that we launched on the 29th of June, which is called the National Rural Schools Innovation Lab Initiative. And that grew out of a dialogue with our friend who we have spoken with, David Huggins of Mojave Valley, and he shared with us his dream. And I said, well, let us help you make that happen. It sounds like a wonderful idea. So we're collaborating with the National Rural Education Association and Mojave Valley School District. David Huggins is our director of the initiative. We have the infrastructure. I've thought about this, that might be an interesting fit between live and that initiative. So I just wanted to share that with y'all and those that might be watching later. David actually is going to be a part of a webcast by Ed Webb, I believe it is, on July 9th. There are, I think, 4 or 5 panel members talking about introducing AI into rural schools in the U.S. So interesting stuff going on. I just wanted to share that so that because it leads me to another thing, and I'll be quiet again because I much more enjoy listening to y'all than talking. I think, Jung, you and I had a conversation one time about my question was, do you have any data that shows the impact, analytical data that shows the impact of these courses, not only on the students in math courses and their performance, but also how they generally do in other courses in school? And I don't remember the details of your answer, but I was impressed with it. If you or Professor Po or Kayla can share your thoughts on that.
I know Kayla has more points to share about further collaborations, but to first jump in about our data, yes, we're very proud of the impact, the growth that we see. So we look at where students come in on day 1 of the cohort. So each cohort is about 12 weeks long, day 1, and the last day of the cohort. So it's really only 24 hours we have with them for 1 semester. And yet within these 24 hours that we meet with them, first, the math is incredible. So many of you may know about the American Math Competition, like the most well-known and most participated math competition in the country. And typically they start off at around the 50 percentile. Like if they took the AMC, they would have been in the 50 percentile rank in the country. And within 24 hours, they are like regularly within the 85 to 90 percentile. So that's a huge jump just within 24 hours that we have with them. So this also shows not only are teachers really engaged and take advantage of every single session they have with them, but our students are focused and locked in and taking advantage of each session as well. And then we also have the softer skills that we measure as well. Kind of ironic to have data on soft skills, but we ask them questions like how does your problem solving skills change, not just in math classes after taking art classes. So about 85 to 90% of them tell us that not only are they able to tackle more math challenges in their classes, but outside of math as well, like life problems they're willing to tackle. They have more confidence in doing these things. And then one of our most recent questions that we've been asking them is, do you agree that through this program, you believe that you can create joy when you help others? And this is so fascinating and encouraging to see, because our most quiet students, they're the ones that truly do see. They say things like, I know I tried to speak up, but I haven't spoken up so much this class, but I do experience a lot of joy when our teachers are helping us. And like, I want to do more of that as well. So there's a lot of really sweet, caring, comfort, and inspiration that our scholars are getting from our instructors. And then it's really cool that it's human nature. Like once you're helped, you want to pass it on to the next person. So it's really cool to see that being fostered in our classes as well.
Thank you for that. Kayla, I think we'll talk offline about the further collaboration. But I just wanted to share it as sort of how what you are doing fits with STEM in general, education in general. Professor Po, tell me the things that I should have asked that you have answers for that I didn't ask.
Sure. I think I'll do this one, which is, we've been talking about teaching thinking and all that. So I'm going to do this. Hey, everyone, let's do some math. Okay, so don't worry, I'm not putting everyone here on the spot. Although I will say Kayla's seen this one because this is my interview question that I give even for non-technical people. But I wanted to put this here because there's a question of what in the world is math anyway, right? Because I'm sure there's some people on this podcast who, we're all working in education here, right? So I want to be clear, when we're teaching math, we want to teach kids how to have any hope of solving a question like this in 15 minutes. I don't actually care too much about whether you memorize the formula and can repeat it fast. This question on the screen has 100 numbers. It happens to be that a lot of the numbers are hiding behind the ... So the question is 1 minus 2 plus 3 minus 4 plus 5 minus 6 plus 7 minus 8. No, that plus 99 minus 100. There's no formula that is taught in school that will teach you how to do this. If they were all plus signs, a lot of kids memorize that formula. However, once you have something which is unfamiliar like this, a lot of kids just give up. Now, it turns out that if you dwell on this question for long enough, you might notice all kinds of patterns. Like the numbers are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's one pattern. They get bigger as you go. They just keep stepping up by one. As you keep staring at this, you also notice they're alternating between plus and minus. Like plus is on the 1, minus a 2, plus a 3, minus a 4, and so on. And if you think about it for a while, a lot of kids will realize that, interestingly enough, the sums seem to be going from, you start with the 1 minus 2 is then negative 1, And then when you add 3, you get to +2. Then you subtract 4 and you get to -2. Then you add 5 and you get to +3. You subtract 6, you get to -3. You add 7, you get to +4. You -8, you get to -4. You add 9, you get to +5. You see what's going on? There's something of 5, and so somehow it looks like your number keeps getting bigger slowly, and it keeps flipping from plus to minus. After a while, people figure out that the answer is 50, and then of course it's 50. The answer is 50. But then after a while, some other kids, we like to use these to have discussion. So then some other kid will notice and say, you know what, that 1 - 2, you have an airplane in the back. Suppose that your airplane went up by 1 foot and then went down by 2 feet. Okay, and then it went up by 3 feet and down by 4 feet. When it goes up by 1 and down by 2, that's a net loss of 1 foot. When it goes up by 3 and then down by 4, it's going to lose another foot. When it goes up by 5 and down by 6, it's going to lose another foot. So actually, every pair of numbers here is giving you -1. Oh, I'm sorry, I spoke wrong. It's -50. Yeah, it's -50. If I said 50 last time, I'm so sorry. That's that backwards. Although I will say in our classes, what we do is if someone does that, we usually tell them, okay, you got a lot of the idea. What do you think about what else should we do? Let's try it again carefully. But what we try to do is with our program, we want to teach kids that if you got the wrong answer with pretty good logic, that's worth more than right answer with wrong logic, if that makes sense. And we also want the kids to get used to vocalizing their ideas, because when you do so, you fix your own mistakes. Like what I just did here, I fixed it to -50 because I saw, oh, every pair is -1, -1, -1, and there's 50 pairs. Okay, so I put that there just because then people have a concrete idea of what is this program anyway. We're going to let kids think about questions like this 2 nights a week, all through the school year. During the summer, John, you got to help me. Is it 5 a week in the summer, or is it 4 a week in the summer?
5 a week, 75 minutes at a time, 4 weeks. So about 24 hours.
Got it.
24 hours.
Yeah, still 24 hours in the summer, right? But so we're running kids through this very, very creative thinking process. Right. There's something else I also want to share. And this one, Kayla can tell a better story because it's actually something that she's close to, which is that I actually find that a lot of people could be really, really good at math, but sometimes it's a confidence issue. And so as part of the experiment, when Kayla joined, she happens to have a 7th grade sister. And so she somehow convinced her 7th grade sister to try this. And I think this is worth saying because there's probably a lot of people in the country who match this profile. Kayla, can you share what you had experience of?
Yeah, so my sister, she was doing really good in school, all A's in her math classes, and then she got to 7th grade and she just kind of hit a wall. I know in 7th grade, from talking to her and my personal experience, there's a ton of peer pressure. There's a ton of pressure to like grow up because now you're like a teenager, and what does that mean? And so I think that all of those things lead to a fear of failure. And that leads to a lack of participation in class. And so because of that, she was getting a D in her math class. And I knew that this was not like her. And so I did convince her to do the class. And she was really scared at the beginning. But then I would say like 30 minutes into it, she was having a full conversation with one of the girls talking about like their favorite movie or something during the icebreaker, like relating what they were learning back to the icebreaker that they talked at the beginning about. And they ended up doing this one challenge problem that was like finding like a smaller area inside of a larger shape. And because of the way that they were doing the problem solving in the class, they just didn't ask her like for the answer. They asked like, and they went through how to solve the problem. And so she was actually able to solve it on her own and ended up getting the correct answer. And she got so excited about that she ran upstairs and started jumping around her kitchen. And it was just so cute and such a good experience to see her just like light up about math again. And I think that even the other day when she left class, she just like came out and sat in our living room, and I was like, why are you smiling? And she's like, I feel smart. And she actually she ended with a B in her math class this past year, and she's continuing to take the classes through the summer because she loves it so much. And her last class, she was so sad. She didn't want it to end. She was like, "Oh, I love my teachers so much. I'm gonna miss them." Like, it was just like really fun that even in that short amount of time that she was in there, it created like such connection and a community that she wanted to stay in it and keep learning.
That kind of story and that kind of example, again, because I grew up in Wisconsin, I think the number of people in this country who would be of that characterization that Kayla just said is absolutely enormous. There's an enormous number of people who they were good students in school, and then something mysteriously happened around when they were 6th grade, 7th grade, something like that. And I'm inspired to do this because I think that those are often quite wonderful people. I actually find that many of those people are quite clever, but for whatever reason, they might have thought that, oh, math, science, engineering, it's all about getting the answer in the right way, which is, as you know, from actually making engineering, it's not quite that there's already the right way, or else you guys wouldn't have invented anything, right? I mean, in some sense, the real engineering is probably coming up with your own way. Of course, you need to don't do like 5 + 6 is 27, okay? So don't do that. But nevertheless, the concepts, like fitting together all these concepts is huge. So I think I'll just share like my thought on this, why I'm so excited to do it is because I can see that there's these incredible people. They could become contributors to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I discovered as I went around schools, I mentioned earlier, I would go and try to talk to real people. What I've been doing is I've been going around schools, both rural and inner city, introduced by the teacher as, hey kids, you guys got a sub today. His name is Mr. Po. And I don't want the kids to know my background as a professor, or I used to coach the math team of the United States, whatever. No, I want the kids to just think, you got some guy, okay? And then when I go in, then I go and engage all these kids by asking them, what did you guys learn last time? And then they tell me what it was, and I just go and make a new problem, a new challenge, which would be the next thing that they should learn, except it's harder. And I say, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Hey, what do you guys think? And what I find is that all over the place, but especially in rural schools, I find a lot of kids who rise to that challenge and want to problem solve. I will say the place that I see the least of it is actually places where maybe their parents have, this is more like suburban areas or something, where the parents have put the kids in lots and lots of math training classes to help make sure the kid can get into Stanford or Harvard or whatever. Some of those kids are less likely to want to jump in themselves and try, right? But the rural, you see lots. And I'll just close with this one story, which to me it's what makes me do what I do, right? So I was in this school in rural Oklahoma, and I was teaching some 6th grade kids. And at the beginning of class, I asked everyone, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? So one kid said that he wanted to be an astrologer. We later learned that meant astronomer. Those are slightly different things. That's okay. But then there was this other kid, he said he wants to be a farmer. All right, so this is rural Oklahoma. The kid said, I want to be a farmer when I grow up. Okay, very good. So we do this class. And then during the class, I asked all of these funny math questions. And that guy, the future farmer, had tons and tons of good ideas. This is a creative guy, okay? When the class ended, the kids laughed, and the teacher came over to me and said, oh, you know that boy? His dad's a farmer. I said, oh, okay, right? That's the one who wanted to be a farmer. And then the teacher went on and said, that kid's dad has tons of patents because he keeps inventing farm equipment. So this is why I do what I do, because I mean, I tell this story in lots of cities because they don't know that's the punchline. Right? But at the same time, I know there's a lot of real creative problem solvers who actually do engineering all the time, but they don't necessarily have access to the latest and greatest stuff, if you know what I mean. Like, suppose you are this 6th grade kid and you really want to learn all this stuff. How? Where? I think that we're at this very unique time. Internet access is now widely available. High-speed internet access is now widely available through rural USA and the world, in part because of Starlink. I mean, I'm not saying that's the only one, but just the sheer fact that there are now ways for anyone to get a high-speed up and down link. Oh, well, this is interesting. This means we're at a unique moment of history. What are we going to do with this? Are we going to use the Starlink to get everyone addicted to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram? Or will there be some kids who want to use their Starlink to uplink to other kids just like them who are just a little bit older, who are doing all these crazy things with math and science. So we built a whole network for this. Right, we go all over. I'm actually calling you right now from Texas because I'm just down the road from you in some sense, San Marcos, Texas. This morning I just spoke at a math camp. We're going to have all these kids from Texas, high school kids, who are going to be applying in to go and be the instructors on the other side. They're going to teach these younger kids. The younger kids are going to grow up and want to be the older kids. My dream one day is that somebody, well, by the way, we don't only teach inner city. We don't only teach rural. We actually don't only teach kids who are not paying. We also teach kids whose parents pay. We have that whole side too. And these are like kids in San Francisco, kids in Washington, D.C. Area, where the parents want the kids to do all this advanced math. My dream is one day, there's a bunch of folks who they paid for some class. The kid opens the thing. The kid lives in San Francisco. And he's like, wait a second. This guy has a West Texas accent. My teacher has a West Texas accent. And this teacher is the smartest kid I've ever seen in my life. This is the experience that many of our middle schoolers get when they take these classes, including the ones who pay the money and whatnot. But I actually think this is going to happen because from running around the rural areas, I actually think that there's a lot of really smart kids there. And so if they just get access to this from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they very well might be the person on the other side of the call, sharing their knowledge, their experience, their culture, actually, even with the rest of the country and the rest of the world.
How did you decide to focus on middle school as a starting point, if I understood you correctly?
Yeah, that was from being Mr. Po the sub. So I went into all of these different classrooms. And I will say, I found out that in many places, once you talk to a high school student, they've sort of figured out what their life is going to be like. When you talk to a 6th grader, they still kind of think the world's their oyster and they could just do about anything. They're still pretty flexible. Actually, that's also a critical age. I have 3 kids. My oldest one is 20. My second one is 17. My third one is 12. And so as a parent myself, I've witnessed, once the kid goes to middle school, they change. How are they changing anyway? Oh, they're looking at other kids. That's how they're changing. Gee, wouldn't it be great if we could give those kids some other kids to look at who carry lots of great values, where the values include being a kind person, but they also include really being very interested in thinking, analyzing, and whatever, and they think that they can do it, right? So we see that the 6th grade time frame, 6th, 7th, and 8th time frame is a great opportunity to change the mindset of a lot of people, or lock in a good mindset for a lot of people. So that's why we do that. Maybe if we do younger, it would be great too. The only problem is I don't really know how to get 3rd graders to sit still. That's too hard for me.
Thank you for that, Professor Po. Let me just share with the audience that if you are participating school and all it takes to be a participating school with the D. Howard program is by clicking on the link on our website and you become a participating school. So there's no cost, no obligation. It's easy to do, but it helps us provide better curriculum and better resources, I think, to the audience that is watching it. If you are a participating school and you go in the drop-down menu on the rural STEM in the banner, you'll find teacher resources. And if you click on teacher resources, there are logos for about 12 or 15 of our collaborating organizations, Live being one of them. And there is an electronic folder or a page devoted to that logo. And in this case, that would be Live. And so you can go to Live, or you can, of course, go to their website, and we have all their links there as well. Click on the Live logo in Teacher Resources, and it has a lot of information on Live. And this podcast will not only be on the podcast page for the public, but will also be on the Live Teacher Resource page as well. There are many different ways that you can have access. And also, I'll just share with y'all that we have a STEM forum, which we've always wanted to use as a way to communicate among the schools. We have, as part of the implementation of the Innovation Lab initiative, we have updated the STEM resource, the STEM forum, to allow participating schools to originate discussion items directly on the STEM forum. So Live, for example, no longer has to come to Wayne and say, would you please post this? Because you have access to those private pages as a collaborating organization, you can go directly, and I can show you all how to do that offline. You can go directly to the STEM forum and post whatever you want there. I know that it will be appropriate. I figured out how to delete inappropriate postings, which was a big step forward. And so I'm no longer worried about that. The viewer will have the live resources you can go to directly. We'll have the live resources on D. Howard International, and we'll have live resources, hopefully in time, posted in the STEM forum as well. So no reason not to know where to find this stuff. I want to thank you for those that watched this recording later, and thanks to Professor Po and Kayla and Jung for this wonderful hour that we've spent together. It raised a lot of questions in my mind that which I understand now. Now, the math I learned, I was a slow learner in math, and actually I wound up learning most of my math in my college physics and chemistry courses. And and then after working with Dee for 38 years, I picked up a little more understanding the products. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all. For the viewers, we hope you watch the next podcast, which will be in August, and that will be posted on our website as well. Thank you for all that you do for our kids.